Good morning, students, and happy Friday. So here on page 99, you will notice that we are just continuing to review our integer addition, just continuing to practice. There are no new concepts to learn. The book just wants us to continue practicing, and I think that is a great idea because once we get really good at adding integers, then it will be easier for us to move on to subtraction, multiplication, etc. So, although some of your integers here may have some numbers that are a little higher, it is the same exact concept. As you can see from our directions, it says use what you've learned to solve the following problems. Think of positive integers as money you have. Think of negative integers as money you owe. Same concept. Of course, we will be reviewing this as we go, continuing on with our integer practice. You may have some assignments left on Khan Academy to help you practice, but please take your time because it is very important that you get very good at these before we move on. So there isn't anything new to learn. It is just a practice sheet, just as we've been doing on our worksheet days, except this time our practice sheet is in our book. And here for Friday, we have our language arts assignment, the helpful apostrophe. So we're used to using apostrophes, but we're going to learn even more how they're supposed to be used and the rules. So it says apostrophes are used in forming contractions, in forming possessive nouns, and in forming the plurals of letters. A contraction is a word in which a letter or letters have been omitted. And we're very used to using contractions. It looks like this. So instead of using the word should not, we often use the word shouldn't with an apostrophe. So that is what a contraction is. And I'm sure after seeing them, you're thinking, oh yeah, I definitely use those. A possessive noun is a noun that shows possession or ownership. It always contains an apostrophe. So, for example, you would say, my friend's dog. You wouldn't say my friend's dog without the apostrophe. Or the children's dog. It's letting you know that it belongs to them. It's possessive. So, what I'm doing right now is I'm just reading over some rules. You notice here on the right side of your page, we have apostrophe 1, 2, and 3, which is why on the following page, I assigned it to you for Friday because this is just a rule page. The next page will have some exercises on it. So it's telling you, use an apostrophe to show where letters have been omitted. And for should not, it's shouldn't. For you are, it's your. These are just some examples. Will not, won't. Cannot, can't. Shall not, shan't. Also, when we're talking about the plurals of letters, we need an apostrophe because A would be A apostrophe S, B apostrophe S, C apostrophe S, and on and on. Now, use an apostrophe in a possessive noun. Just like we said before, my friend's dog. The possessive noun friends shows that the dog belongs to my friend. It would be confusing if you didn't have the apostrophe because if you just write friends like this, you're just writing the plural of friends. It doesn't make sense. You need to show the apostrophe to let the reader know that it belongs to them. Then it says here, there is a trick where the apostrophe goes after the S. And how do you know if it comes before or after? So this rule we don't use very often in writing, but it's helpful to know. How do you know if the apostrophe comes before or after the S? If the owner or possessor, that means the person that owns something, is a singular noun, you add apostrophe S. Like friend, friends, like my friend's dog. However, if the owner or possessor is a plural noun, like there's more than one friend, then you would write my friend's apostrophe dog. So let's think. Instead of saying, my classmates, let's use that one. My classmates work. This would be talking about one classmate. But if you're talking about more than one classmate's work, then you would put the apostrophe here after the S. We don't use those as often, but when we do, it's important to know. Now here for a little writing hint, on the bottom it says when you write a sentence or a paragraph or a report, check to see if you can reduce the number of words you have used. Sometimes a possessive noun can help. So, for example, the teacher that my sister has, or my sister's teacher. Which one sounds better? It's obvious that my sister's teacher sounds better. We wouldn't really use the teacher that my sister has when describing that because it seems unnecessary. And that's why apostrophes are very helpful. So just for your writing exercise, let me move back to page 142 here. Let me flatten it. Okay, so forming contraction. So all you're going to do is just form the contraction. So you should be pretty familiar with most of these on the very top. Like is not would be isn't, does not, doesn't, like that. Write the contraction for these following words. Then for thing B, it says contractions are also formed by joining nouns or pronouns with verbs. Write the contraction for the following words. And these you have seen many times as well. Instead of I am, you could write I'm. You have, you've. You are, your. Words we use very often. For write C, you're going to write these sentences as you might say them if you were talking. Use the contraction. It says to write them on notebook paper. If you write extra small, you can write them here, but I would probably suggest notebook paper anyway so that it looks nice and neat. We do not go to school on Saturday. But if you were speaking, you would probably say, we don't go to school on Saturday. And that requires an apostrophe. And then here for remember D, we're going back to parts of speech. You're going to write the part of speech for each underlined word on notebook paper. So I have a beautiful Persian cat with calico markings. So what does Persian mean? What, or should I say, what part of speech? Well, we're talking about a beautiful cat, a beautiful Persian cat. So that must be a describing word, an adjective. So that's just an example. You're going to do the rest for numbers 1 through 5. It does say notebook paper, but I think for this one, you can simply write them next to the sentence because you're just writing the part of speech. And here for Friday for spelling, what you're going to be doing is reading this description, this seasonal description. It is perfect because we just started our season of spring and this page is all about spring. And what you're going to do is read, and as you notice the words that are bold, you're going to write a list word that could replace the bold word. So pretty much a list word that means the same or about the same as the bold word. And once you find the word that would best replace it, you're going to write them down here. And there are 11, just like you'll notice they are numbered here, all the way from 1 through 11. So read it. In my opinion, you should read it out loud. and then try replacing them with a list word. And the best one should go down here in numbers 1 through 11.